Today we'll be going through 4 tips or 4 things that Pokemon investors don't usually do, especially myself, when it comes to investing in Pokemon product. And these 4 things we're going to talk about today, I think are kind of important, and not only are they important, but they do have a big effect on how you spend your money, what products to pick up, and kind of what not to do, because it will hurt the overall growth of what you buy and what you invest in. So let's jump into it. All right, so recently I got some comments and some messages from people asking about, kind of like, Jace, what sort of things should I do? I'm new to investing in Pokemon. What sort of things should I do? Everywhere I see is do this and do that. But what are the things that I really shouldn't be doing? Maybe some things I shouldn't be buying or specifically doing with the product that I buy. So we'll be going through 4 things in particular today. So first things first is FOMO. Don't FOMO, right? That is one thing that I always say to people is don't get that fear of missing out. Because if you get that fear of missing out, then you tend to make silly mistakes. I've done it before. In the past, I have purchased products and overpaid for product, which I had massive fear of losing out on. I really have. And for me, I remember paying for the Charizard UPC was actually one of them. When the Charizard UPC came out, there was so much hype coming up to the release of the Charizard UPC that I was like, oh my god, I have to get hold of one. And at the time, the hype was so big that the pre-order prices were way higher than retail. It was crazy, right? There were places over here in the UK that were selling them for £180, and to be honest, they were definitely not that. I think they were supposed to be around 120 retail. So it was crazy to think that people were buying and selling at 180, and they were selling, especially on places like on eBay. Now, I actually didn't pay 180, right, for a Charizard UPC. At the time, I think I actually bought one that was £150, which was pretty crazy. And then about 2 weeks after the release, there was more that hit the market. There was more that got put out in stores. And then it dropped below 100, and it stayed that way for months. And I was kind of gutted, right? I just spent basically 50% more than what it was going for just 2 weeks later. And I thought, oh my days, it's going to go absolutely crazy. Another example, again, back in the Sword and Shield era, was Celebrations. I overpaid for Celebrations ETBs because, again, there was so much hype for that set that the ETBs were going for crazy prices. Now, one product which would have been good would have been the Celebrations UPC. Of course, that product actually doubled in value of what that retail was, but I didn't know how little that was going to get printed, and that was pretty crazy. But yeah, FOMO is a real big thing, and especially at the moment with Scarlet and Violet, there is definitely a lot of FOMO when it comes to certain sets. Like 151 is a prime example. We've just seen the Charizard in that set double in price in literally a space of like 24 to 48 hours, which is absolutely crazy. You've had people on trading sites and pages going, I need to buy this card for 200, but it was 95 the week before, and they weren't interested in it. It's crazy. Honestly, it's super duper crazy stuff. And we saw a lot of FOMO happen with the Sword and Shield Alt Arts. Sword and Shield Alt Arts earlier on this year, around the summertime, saw a massive boom. Some of them doubled in value. Since then, they have dropped by over 50% pretty much across the board. Now, there are some cards like the Moonbreon, which is a different example, but a lot of them have dropped in value. And if you kind of fell into the FOMO to go in and pick up one of these big arts from Sword and Shield, let's say you went and bought the Gengar from Fusion Strike when it was like $400, $450. That card is now $300. If you bought in at $400, $450, that's gonna sting. Now, you may get some people that go, yeah, but don't forget this card is up than it was a year ago. Yeah, it was, but not everybody bought it a year ago. Some people bought it when it was $400 to $450. It really does sting. It is tricky, but yeah, the FOMO can be real. And usually, as a rule, if you're going to invest in Pokemon, don't go for that FOMO. And I've learned my lesson since the Sword and Shield era. So when it comes to Scarlet and Violet era, I take a look at kind of the feel of the set, what people are saying for a particular set, and try and not let emotions and everything take over and just go for a particular product. And it's okay to miss out. It really is okay. You don't have to buy everything. I don't buy everything. I actually bought a lot less in Scarlet and Violet era than I did in Sword and Shield, but I feel like I'm making better decisions in the Scarlet and Violet era than I have with Sword and Shield. Next thing we're going to talk about is reprints, right? Don't worry about reprints. Reprints are a good thing, especially if you're looking to invest in the long term. Reprints is an interesting one, mainly because I think it's kind of a split of a 50-50. You do get some people that look at reprints and they're like, you know what? I absolutely can't stand reprints. They absolutely suck. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see my gains get slashed and all that sort of stuff, right? Prime example at the moment is 151 in English, right? 151 in English is absolutely crushing it. It is, from the single cards to the sealed product. So we take a look at the sealed product. If you bought, a UPC for 120 when it came out, then you're doing pretty well right now, right? It's $200. It's really climbing, but it's taken a while for it to get there, right? If they reprinted the UPC and the UPC was to drop back down to that 120, yes, you would have lost the gains that you already have made over the past year from that 120 to 190 or 200. But let's be real, it's going to eventually climb back up there and probably surpass that anyway, because the set is so strong. A prime example is something like Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies got reprinted quite heavily, but don't forget, it is such a powerful set, and look at it now, it's like $800 a box, which is just crazy in my opinion. But then when you look at other sets as well that did get heavily printed, you take a look at a set like Crown Zenith, right? Crown Zenith is a special set, no booster boxes. It got printed very heavily, right? But it is a strong, resilient set. You look at a lot of the cards in the set, especially when you look at the gold V-Stars, the Mewtwo V-Star and the like, they are holding their own. They're holding their value. Yeah, their value dropped in most cases by 50, 60, 70%, from all of the reprints from their all-time highs. But they have bounced back successfully. And even then, you look at sealed product of Crown Zenith, ETBs have been climbing back up. The loose booster packs have been climbing. So pretty much, if it is a strong performance set, it will bounce back. And reprints, in my opinion, are a great thing. Let's say we get a reprint. Let's say we do get a reprint of Evolving Skies. I know we won't, but let's say we do. And Evolving Skies went from $800 down to, $500 a box. I know it still sounds crazy, but let's say it did drop down to $500. In my opinion, that means it's a great time to pick up Evolving Skies booster boxes. Yeah, because it dropped so much. And we know they've already been there. And we know that eventually how powerful this is, it will recuperate. Now, there have been other sets that have seen reprints which haven't bounced back, of course. Sets like Vivid Voltage and Darts Ablaze from the Sword and Shield era, they got reprinted. They didn't do very well. Even when you look at the set before the reprint came, it wasn't really performing anyway, okay? So when we look at something like Scarlet and Violet, Twilight Masquerade is getting more expensive, right? Booster boxes are like $170 on TCG Player. Over here in the UK, we're seeing Twilight Masquerade hitting $125, $130 a box. The set's like not even 6 months old. So let's say a reprint comes and it's a pretty big size one and they drop down to, $100, let's say. Yeah, it kind of sucks if you bought in and you're buying booster boxes at $150, $160. But let's be real. That Twilight Masquerade booster box for that long term will do incredibly well. It really will. And buying it at $100, if it does get reprinted, is a great deal. It's such a great deal. So yeah, reprints, I think if you're really looking at that long term, doesn't really matter much, in my opinion. I mean, unless they absolutely just nuke a set and they just print an absolute ton like Shining Fates, I think they've learned from that. Pokemon have been very, very good, especially in Scarlet and Violet era, of not pumping the market too much of a particular set. They're really, really, finding that right sweet spot when it comes to just giving enough but still making people want a little bit more, which is a good thing. Right, tip number 3. This one's a little bit of an interesting one. One question I get asked so much is, Jace, how do you not give in to the urge of opening up your own sealed product? It's tough. It really is tough, especially, if you're like me and you really do enjoy cracking packs, because let's be honest, it is fun, right? To try and pull some absolute bangers in our packs. And especially if we're buying sets, which we know are good sets to open, or even good sets that have big chase cards, right? Prime example, should I really open up my Evolving Skies booster boxes? But what if there's a Moonbreon in there? What if it could be? You're right, but then you got to look, you kind of outweigh it, right? You outweigh the cost and everything. It's not worth it. It really is not worth it. One of the things that I tend to do to prevent myself from getting the temptation and urge to open up my sealed product is to hide it, is to put it away somewhere where I cannot easily get to it. I can't easily see it as well. So a lot of the sealed product I have, booster boxes and ETBs, I tend to store in big containers, whether or not they would be in a storage unit or, somewhere maybe like in a loft or in a cupboard or somewhere like that, out the way so I don't see them. I have some, the odd boxes here and there as a background piece, but that's about it, right? Very few out on visual display because, the urge is always there. The urge is like, oh, you know what? I really want to do it. I really want to crack packs. And it's like one of the things for me anyways, because of the channel and we do live breaks each and every week where we are cracking packs, right, is there are just loose packs lying around, right? We open up a booster box and there are some packs left over. The urge is always there. The urge is always there to like, hey, you know what? Shall I open up some? Do I want to open up some? And you got to fight it. You're right. You really got to fight it. So for me, it's like, but what if I really want a specific card from a set? Like, I'll give you an example. 151, I haven't opened up much 151 at all. And if you take a look at the Scarlet and Violet era as a whole, as far as open up product is concerned, the only set, or the last set, I opened up an entire booster box of was Scarlet and Violet base set. Didn't open up any for any other set. Unlike Sword and Shield, where I did open up a lot of product, with Scarlet and Violet, I didn't. Why? Because in myself, I'm not looking to complete master sets. And if there's specific cards that I want, I'll just go out and buy those specific cards. If there are certain cards that you want, buying singles is the best way to go. You've got to be careful when buying singles, of course, especially if you're looking to get them graded, because you want to make sure they're in good condition. You want to make sure that, they are not off-centered and the like. So you got to make sure they're top quality. And that always is tricky. I've bought some cards where I'm like, yeah, I've got the intention to get it graded. It then turns up and I'm like, oh, actually, it's not quite as good as I thought it was going to be. And it's just, that's a binder type card. But yeah, it's one of these, age-old thing. Why if you open up a Evolving booster box, it could have Moonbryon. Yes, you would be better off just buying the Moonbryon, to be honest, even though it is more expensive than the box. But you'd be better off doing that. Same with the Greninja, right? Twilight Masquerade. If I really want the Greninja, I'll just buy the Greninja rather than trying to open up Twilight Masquerade boxes to try and pull it, because it's just not going to happen. So yes, for me, single cards is the way to go. Try not to get into the temptation of opening up your product. One way that I actually found, this is actually a little tip, is if you've got an urge that you want to open up a particular set, join into other people's live breaks. Because that's one of the things that I did. That's how I actually got my Moonbryon. I didn't want to open up my own Evolving Skies, and I jumped into a live break, I bought some packs, and I got the Moonbryon. Someone pulled me the Moonbryon, and I have it in a PSA 10. I would never have got it otherwise if I didn't do that. So it's just one of those things. Of course, open up someone else's product and keep yours sealed. In my opinion, it's one of the better ways of doing it. And the final tip for today is not buying supplementary products. And what I mean by things like that is I tend not to buy collection boxes. I tend not to buy triple pack blisters, mini tins, normal tins. I tend to stick with booster boxes and ETBs, and then occasionally a premium collection box. Now, I'm not saying those things are bad to buy. Like, I'm not saying that tins and collection boxes and triple pack blisters are bad products to pick up. They're definitely not. But for me, I tend to go for a little bit more tried and true products like booster boxes, right? I tend not to go for, like, when I go ETBs, I tend not to go for normal set ETBs. So, for instance, with Surging Sparks coming out, I won't go and buy a normal ETB to keep sealed. I just wouldn't. Pokemon Center ETB, fair enough. But if it was something like 151 or Palladium Fates or something like that, then a normal ETB, in my opinion, is pretty good, because I see them as the same way as I do a booster box for a set that has a booster box. So that's how I view those particular products. Now, with most sets that have booster boxes, they tend to be like the cornerstone of that set. Like that cornerstone product that everyone looks at and compares and wants to collect and have, which is the booster box. It's a pretty solid product to pick up and invest in the long term. Now, I'm not saying that other products are bad. So I'll give you an example. You look at a lot of the Sword and Shield era sets now, Lost Origin, Fusion Strike, Chill and Rain, that have been growing. Like, booster boxes are getting more expensive, and just the regular loose packs are also climbing. Something like a triple pack blister for Lost Origin would be pretty solid, right? You think about it, the average price of a Lost Origin booster pack has gone up. So if you bought a triple pack blister, that's going to go up as well. When it comes to collection boxes, the main reason why I don't tend to go for collection boxes is because, one, they're very big and bulky most of the time, so a little bit harder to store. There's a lot of excess packaging in those products. I'm not a huge fan of it. Then on top of that is it does have a wide variety of sets. You've got to try and then, get the best collection box with the best pack selection in it and stuff like that, which can be tricky. It's even more tricky when it comes to tins, because sometimes Pokemon change up what packs are in what tins over time depending on different print runs. It can get a little bit confusing. Unless you go for a set where it's just all of the same, like a Crown Zenith tin, for instance, or a Palladium Fates tin, all of the packs in there are from that one set. That's a great product. Whereas, some of them where it's like 4 different sets in it and it could change, that's a lot tougher. Premium products I tend to go for as well, UPCs, things like that, other premium collection boxes, the Arceus box is a prime example, where you got that Cosmic Eclipse pack, that's a good one. So there's other ones, the Evolutions, VMAX premium collection boxes, they're great ones to pick up as well. So there are a lot of products like that, which I do tend to go for. And I usually say premium is key. But like I say, the other small, you could call them supplementary or ancillary products and stuff like that, I tend not to invest in. Those are the ones I tend to avoid. But I do tend to go for booster boxes, Pokemon Center ETBs if they're a regular set, normal ETBs if they're a specialty set, and then I would go for something like a UPC, so Charizard 151 or the Arceus, anything like that I think are very, very good as well. So those are the products that I tend to go for. Of course, like I say, there's not always a bad choice, but I do think there are better choices out there. And especially when it comes to a strong performance set anyway, then it doesn't matter too much what you decide to go for. I would say diversify which sets you invest in, but stick to maybe booster boxes, ETBs and stuff like that. That's probably the way I would look at it. So there you have it, guys. Those are 4 little tips of things not to do and things that I kind of do, which I think, hopefully will help you in the long run. Some of them are easier to do than others. Trust me, the urge of opening packs is real, but I do try my best not to. And of course, I'm always happy to see a reprint, especially of a set which needs it. An example of 151. There are more 151 coming in February. I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking at picking some up, and it's a premium product. Premium is key, once again. If you made this far into the video and you've enjoyed it, make sure to smash the like button and make sure to subscribe for more Pokemon content. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments about, little tips of things not to do. And of course, if you do have any questions that you want answering as well, let me know down in the comments, guys, and I will get back to you on that one. But that is it from me, guys, in today's video. If you watch more Pokemon content, make sure to click the video on the screen, and of course, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And as always, you guys are the legends. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.